Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Will, and today I want to talk to you guys about the most interesting topic in all of New World history to date. It's going to be so fascinating and not boring at all. And that topic is going to be specifically revolving around respawn rates for your most basic of resources. So we're going to be talking about a few different things. I have, for example, trees, stones, iron, hemp, as well as herbs. So I have a series of things I went through that are very, very basic. That I calculated today to get to you guys to kind of give you an idea of expectations on respawn rates for these different items and if it's worth it to hang around and wait for them, things like that. I'm kind of weird when it comes to a lot of games like this. I really like to have all the information and pretty much know as much as humanly possible without necessarily needing to use it or ever take advantage of all that information I gather. So I like to min-max in my head without min-maxing in the game necessarily. But so that led me to want to go ahead and figure out some of the stuff, get some timings, figure out, rough estimated respawn rates for a bunch of basic resources that we have. So the science kind of behind how I did it is I went through and I took 5 timings from each item and I took those at each style. So if you don't know, there's 2 types of nodes that you can mine. You have like a small node and a big node. You'll notice often, like when you're cutting down trees or hitting rocks, like there's some rocks that only take 3 or 4 hits and there's some rocks that take 10 or 12 hits. Same thing with picking herbs or mining iron, all these things. There's like a small and a large node version. So I have timings for each of these items independently. And I think the only one that is excluded is herbs. As far as I've seen, herbs are all the same. Like there's not like super big patches that take longer to pick that give you more resources. They seem to be pretty much all the same to me. At least from the couple of patches that I went through and got timings off of, they were just all pretty much the same. So we'll jump right in and knock out a couple of the least important ones. Stone and wood specifically, they're plentiful, quite bountiful throughout New World. There's not a whole lot of supply and demand issues there. They also have exceptionally high respawn times compared to everything else. I'm assuming because they're plentiful, so they don't need to respawn as often, and it probably takes a lot less effort on the servers for New World to have them spawn at a slower rate because there's 1,000 trees and 1,000 stones for every, 10 iron veins there is. So it's pretty exceptional, and that's going to be pretty straightforward. I did timings on both stone and tree, and they came out to be only 2 seconds apart on average. So I lumped them together here kind of also for that reason. And small trees and small stones came out to an average of about 4 minutes, 41 seconds average respawn time. An important thing to keep in mind as I go through these numbers is I did see numbers up to around 20 seconds or so, plus or minus. So some were about 20 seconds faster, some were about 20 seconds slower than the average here. But again, this is an average, so expectations around this time frame as we go through these numbers. So small trees and small stones, again, 4 minutes, 41 seconds average. Large trees and large stones were 5 minutes and 2 seconds. So only about 21 second difference on average there. Trees, which makes sense because if they're very plentiful, they could have just a generic respawn time for those. Another really important thing to keep in mind is that there's a couple of specific reasons that the respawn timers can be affected in servers. I don't know if this is exactly how it works in New World or if they've discussed how it works, but a big difference from game to game can be 2 major things. So a lot of respawn or like resource respawns in online games are affected either one by the server density, how many people are on the server. The more dense the server, the faster the respawns because they need to be available for more people. And then the reverse, the less dense that is, the slower the respawns may be because you don't need as many of that resource because there's less people going after it. And it ends up evening out really well for the most part. Most people don't really notice a difference because they're never that drastic. There could be like a 20% difference in respawn time. But that could play effect into this. So keep in mind, this video is day 1. This footage is actually from this morning. I filmed it about 10:30 a.m. So only a couple hours into the game. I think I'm only level 8 here in this clip doing this. And that could play an effect in it. The timings I'm giving you could be optimistic timings. Let's say 6 months from now when the servers aren't as packed, we could see a decrease in these times. Another way that could affect it could be area. So the density of the people just around me, how many people are in the same zone I am, could affect respawn times. That's less common than server density, but it definitely is a thing that happens in games. So I don't know if New World takes into account either of these 2 factors, and if it does, that could vary this a little bit. But realistically, with a moderate density server, with a moderate density population in your area, these should be pretty accurate timings overall. So again, just to recap, trees and stones on the small side, about 4 minutes, 40 seconds, and then medium to large trees. So you'll see some trees that are bigger than other trees, but they're still technically the same node size. So like those kind of medium-sized trees still take as long as the big trees to cut down. They just don't feel the same size. So I actually called them medium/large. And those, again, are about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 2 seconds on average here for my calculations. Something a little more important, a lot more people are going to be interested in, we're going to go with ore. So you have small nodes, large nodes. Again, you'll see some that are kind of medium-sized nodes. Those are the same time frame as large nodes. In fact, I did measure those to see if they were different. And the large node and the medium-sized ore averaged 3 minutes 36 seconds, and the large size ore averaged 3 minutes 34 seconds. So with variance, I'm going to continue to say that even in mining nodes, they are the same. It's either small or large. Small ore only averaged about 2 minutes and 44 seconds. So there's nearly a minute difference in respawn rate for the smaller nodes versus the larger nodes in terms of ore, whereas like the tree and stone was only about 20 seconds. So I will do, as I level up more, I will do some more high-end stuff. So I'll do mature trees. I'll start doing the other types of trees. I'll do more advanced types of ore. I'll do silver, things like that. But I'm kind of doing these as I go, so they're kind of available, kind of chronicled as the process continues. So that's trees, stone, and ore. I also did hemp, and I did herbs as well. Herbs were actually really quick. I noticed about an average of 1 minute respawn time on herbs. They really range from about 57 seconds to about 1 minute and 10 seconds on respawn, so on average about 1 minute 3 seconds for herb respawns, which is really nice. Those are somewhat common, they're more common than ore, but not as common as trees and bushes and stuff like that. But they have a pretty quick respawn timer. I actually found that bushes and herbs spawn about the same rate. So bushes are basically irrelevant, but they were there, so I figured I might as well count those as well. So I went through and counted a bunch of pretty much all the basic resources. So herbs and bushes were kind of like trees and stones, where they're about a minute each. Obviously, herbs being a lot more valuable. And I didn't notice a difference in the size of herbs and the times to pick and things like that. They seem pretty much the same, because there are some herbs that are taller than other herbs, but they basically all went at the same pace for me. And again, this was just from 2 different patches I went to and got timings from them. And then I actually had quite a bit of variance when it came to hemp. Hemp was kind of weird. I saw anywhere from about 2 minutes up to about 4 minutes on hemp. I came up with an average of 3 minutes and 2 seconds, so it was almost exactly split. So hemp was a little weird. It was closer to like ore nodes. It was very similar to the mixture of ore nodes, because actually if you split the difference, it's right about there at 244 for small ore and then 330 for large ore. So it being just over 3 minutes kind of split the difference. I also did not notice a difference between large hemp and small hemp. Again, I only went through a couple patches. I might have just happened to only had small hemp through those patches, even though there was some variance in size. So there's a lot of these things, again, they're not exact sciences, but they're rough estimates to give players the idea. And the big reason why I did this is kind of goes back to that min-maxing mindset, where like I would like to know if it's worth waiting around for an ore node to respawn, or if it's faster for me to run and find another ore node, like find a couple sets and like bounce between them for farming's sake. Is it more efficient to do that way, or is it more efficient to wait? That was kind of my mindset with this, is just helping people who are trying to min-max their farming and their gathering skill, kind of what the better idea is. So if you like the content, if you're into this kind of weird, more quirky stuff, then definitely drop a like and subscribe. I'll be doing more stuff like this. I'll be doing more mainstream content as well, opinions on patches and updates, things like that, as well as just regular gameplay on my live stream here on YouTube as well. So again, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.